Drum roll, folks. All eyes, everyone waiting patiently on Jay Powell tomorrow. The Federal Reserve, by the way, though, not the only central bank out there this week. At least 15 of them in action, and some are taking some very aggressive steps, all of them to stamp out or curb inflation. In fact, this morning, Sweden's central bank hiked their key rate 100 basis points. It's a whirlwind, and my next guest actually warned us for months that this was going to happen. Well, it's here. Now people are wondering when or how do we weather this storm. Joining me now, Bianco Research President Jim Bianco. And I got to tell you, Jim, you kind of warned everyone, right? You've been in the camp that says, listen, the Fed is not messing around this time. They're going to keep the pedal to the metal, stay aggressive for a very long time, which is why I don't understand why they don't go or haven't gone 100 basis points until now. We've got the highest core inflation in the world. I mean, to me, if they're serious, then wouldn't that be a more serious reaction?
It would, and I think that the Fed's a bit afraid to get that aggressive because they're unsure of what the consequences could be, mainly for financial markets. They want to get a message across that they're serious about inflation. That's why they're going to probably raise rates 75 basis points tomorrow. But they're not ready to go so serious that they would worry about a toxic reaction in stocks.
Right.
So their message is being received, I think, by the market, if you see what the weakness has been for the last couple of weeks in the stock market.
But here's the interesting thing about that, right, and this sort of so-called toxic reaction. So we've had at least 3 pivot points, right, where the Fed said something, or we had a warning from Walmart, and the market gets hammered. Then it comes back. Then you have Jackson Hole. The market gets hammered, but then they look around and come back, and then we get the CPI report. And it feels like the stock market, still to a large degree, is skeptical. They don't really believe Powell is going to go as far as he says he will, once we get real carnage out there. By the way, I'm still in that camp.
Yeah, you know, and you could also throw in a fourth one in there, too, the FedEx warning last week that we might be in a global recession. But I think really what it is for 25 years, say 1995 to 2010, that the Fed was your friend. The Fed would step up every time there was weakness in the real economy. The markets wobbled, potential reverse wealth effect, or unemployment went up. Here comes the Fed to ride to the rescue. That was correct for 25 years. But now we have serious inflation. And the Fed is serious. The Fed is telling us, no, we've pivoted. Inflation is our #1 issue. And it's hard for people to understand. So you're going to be okay with higher unemployment? Should we get it? We don't really have it yet. You're going to be okay with lower stock prices? They've definitely said that when you hadn't been for 25 years before. That's the hard part about this to understand. And I think the Fed is serious that inflation is the priority.
Right.
Once inflation is down, then they can deal with the other problems, but not until then.
So to that point, if that CPI report last Tuesday, let's say it had a 7 handle, it was 7.9. I think the market was going to go sky high. I mean, at what point does the Fed say mission accomplished on inflation?
That's a good point. I agree with you that the market was rallying in that direction until we got the CPI report. That is really the question. Once we start to see a serious peak of inflation, and we don't quite have it yet, and we're well off the highs, then the question is, are we going back to 2%? If the Fed believes that, if the market believes that, then I think you could really start talking about a pivot.
Right.
But until then, you can't. But, you know, we're months away from that. That's a next year issue, even if it occurs next year. So that's not on the immediate horizon right now.
I appreciate you, Jim. Listen, you really have helped us a lot throughout all of this, even if we didn't like the message sometime. Thank you so much, my friend. All right, folks. And of course, there's a reminder. Tomorrow, we've got this decision day. It's must-see TV.